In this video, we're going to give you a quick tutorial over how to make pivot tables and graphs with categorical data. It's actually pretty easy, pretty fun, but there are a couple things that Google makes somewhat confusing if you're not paying attention. So what I got here is I got a bunch of data, I got a bunch of subjects, and just to make a long story short, we asked a bunch of students what their gender was, male or female. We asked them their household income. Is it over 70,000 or under? So typically income would be a quantitative variable but because we're looking at simply yes, we make over that, or no, we make under that, then it's categorical. Does your child watch violent TV shows? That's yes or no, categorical. And does your child exhibit violent behaviors? That's also yes or no. So first off, let's figure out how to make some frequency tables, which Google calls pivot tables, and so does Excel. So basically, we're going to go ahead and hit Insert, and then you should see Pivot Table under Insert. And then the first thing I do is select your data, right? So we're going to click this little box right here to select our data. I'm actually just going to select all of it. Now, the subject number doesn't really matter. Again, that doesn't mean it. That's like name. Like your name doesn't matter, right? It's just the data that we're looking at here. So I'm just going to select all of our data all at once, hit OK, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this in a new sheet. You could also select to put it in an existing sheet, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in a new sheet, and then hit Create. All right, so when you first get it, it kind of looks like nothing's there, right? Just rows, columns, values, there's just nothing there. But over here on the right-hand side, we have the Pivot Table Editor. So first what we have to do is add some rows. So you could add any row that you want. So I'm going to click on Add, and let's just do a single variable to start. So let's just do gender, okay? So after you add it, you then have to go ahead, and you could describe how you want to do it, ascending or gender, whatever. That's easy, but I just usually leave that's how it is. But then you got to go down to values. You got to add the values. So I'm actually going to go ahead and hit Add, and then add the gender values, and boom, you'll see it pop up pretty easily. Basically, what Google's doing, it's counting the data for you. It counted that there were 22 females, and it counted that there were 38 males. And again, you could hit the little X's if you want to delete that, and maybe you want to do household income over $70,000. So again, we're going to add that as a row, and we're going to go and add the value for the household incomes, and there they are. It was actually 30, 30. 30 said yes, we make over, 30 said under. Now you could also do those as columns if you'd rather not have them be rows. You could add the column of household income, add the value for household income, and notice it just shows it going in columns instead of rows. It doesn't matter, right? Okay. But the cool thing is you can also do two-way tables. Now, I do have 4 categorical variables here. You're only allowed to look at 2 at a time, hence why it's called a two-way table. So I'm actually going to add a row for gender, and then I'm going to also add a column for did the child exhibit violent behaviors. Okay, then I got to go add the data. So now, if you just add the data for gender, it's going to automatically sort it by gender and by the question of do they exhibit violent behaviors. So we could do everything at once by just saying gender. We don't have to add multiple values. It's going to dump them all into the chart. And you see it immediately gets filled out. Now, I'm a little bit specific on how I want things to go. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of my table. I'm going to go ahead and hit Format Wrapping. And I'm going to make it wrap. That way it doesn't like block things out. I like everything to be gridded off, just how I like things to be. And then one more thing I personally like is I like it all to be centered, not indented. So I'm going to go and center everything in the center. These are just tiny details that truthfully don't matter, but I like to see. So now we get this nice table where we can actually see 22 total females, 38 total males. Across the bottom, 34 total kids exhibited violent behavior, 26 did not. And then we also see the conditional numbers on the inside. So for example, 10 of the females exhibited violent behavior, 24 of the males, and so forth. So pretty easy to see there. And then anytime you want to change something, just click on this top left corner here, and then you can go back and maybe we want to actually get rid of, or maybe we want to look at, is there a connection between watching violent TV and exhibiting violent behavior? So I'm actually going to go to row, does your child watch violent TV shows? Column, do they exhibit violent behaviors? and add the values. And again, it doesn't matter which one you grab. It's going to automatically fill them in. So there we go. So we see that 34 total kids exhibited violent behavior, and then 32 total kids do watch violent TV. Or 28 said yes, they watch violent TV. 32 do not. So we kind of get this really cool, pretty simple table there. Not too bad. Then the other thing you could also do with this, which is pretty cool, is you could grab it and go ahead and make some graphs of this data. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with this data right here. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight my entire table. Oh, actually, you really don't need the totals when you do this. So I'm just going to highlight everything but the totals. You'll see that there. Then I'm going to go insert and chart. And it automatically, it's typically going to pull up a column chart, or what was basically a bar chart, right? And you could grab it and move it around. So notice across the bottom, we see, does your child watch violent TV shows? So we have no. So over here, these are the people that don't. And of these people that do not watch violent TV, we can see that in blue, some of them still act violently. And in red, some of them, excuse me, I said that opposite. In blue, some of them do not act violently. And in red, some of them do. But what's cool is we could also see some kind of connections here. We see of the kids that said yes, they watch violent TV, way more actually have violent behavior. So maybe there's a connection there between watching violent TV and having violent behavior. And then of the kids who don't watch violent TV, more of them don't have violent behavior. So, maybe there's a connection there. And you could go through this and you could select the colors here and you could change the colors if you don't like the blue and the red. And, you could use the chart editor to make this look all different ways. You could edit your titles and so forth. But if you go back to chart style, or excuse me, setup, it did automatically put us into a column chart. But we could also make what I think is pretty cool. And this is what we call a segmented bar graph. So I'm going to go down to these columns here, and it's the one that looks like the segments here. They call it 100% stacked column chart. So select that, and this is actually pretty cool because it changes everything to proportions or percentages. So now we can see, for example, amongst the kids that said yes, they watch violent TV, you can actually see the overwhelmingly large percentage of them that had violent behavior. Of the kids that do not watch violent TV, we do see that slightly over 50% of them do not act violent. So it's not like watching violent TV is guaranteed to make your kid have violent behavior, but it does show, based on the data, that if they do watch violent TV, it does seem that there is a greater chance, a greater statistic that they do have violent behavior. So it's kind of cool to see that. And again, this is a 100% stacked chart because each stack there represents 100% or all the kids in that group. So on the left-hand side here, we have all the kids that do not watch violent TV, and we can see the percentage of them that do have violent behavior and the percent that don't. So pretty cool there. And you can actually put your mouse over it and it actually shows you the percentage. So 56% no violent and then 43% do. Over here, 28% of the kids that watch violent TV have no violent behavior. But oh my gosh, 71% of those kids do have violent behavior. So interesting stuff there. Pretty cool. Pretty easy to make these pivot tables. If you don't like something, you could always delete it. And then you can always go back and click up there and you could change things. So again, maybe you want to look at two other variables for your two-way table. A little bit confusing, just kind of getting it all set up, but hopefully it's not too bad. And hopefully this video make a little bit of sense for you.